The night sky above Earth was no longer dark. Huge alien warships floated in the heavens like burning suns. Their silver hulls reflected the light of fires that spread across the cities below. Every day for the last 3 months, the alien empire had attacked without mercy. Towers collapsed, bridges broke, and human armies fell one after another. Yet, in the middle of the ruins, humanity did not surrender. They fought on, even when the odds seemed impossible. Commander Paul stood on the roof of a broken building, watching the horizon. Flames painted the clouds in red and orange. He wore heavy armor scratched from battles, but his eyes were calm and sharp. Behind him, a small group of soldiers waited for his command. They were tired, wounded, and hungry, but they trusted him. Paul knew the situation was desperate, but he also knew that if humans could hold on, they might find a way to strike back. Far above, the alien mothership hovered like a giant shadow. It was larger than any city on Earth, covered with glowing symbols that shifted like rivers of light. From that ship, the enemy queen commanded her armies. Her voice reached the ears of her warriors through strange waves of energy. She was seen only in battle projections, a tall figure with shining armor and eyes like burning stars. To her, humans were weak creatures meant to be conquered. Paul had studied every movement of the alien fleets. He knew their strength, but he also knew their weaknesses. The aliens had technology far beyond human understanding, yet they underestimated human will. The more cities they destroyed, the more people rose up to resist. Every day, small groups of humans struck supply lines, stole alien weapons, and learned their patterns. Paul believed that the key to victory was not in fighting every battle but in striking the heart of the enemy. The soldiers behind Paul whispered among themselves. One of them, a young man named Mark, pointed to the sky. "They look untouchable, Commander. How can we fight ships that big?" Paul did not turn his head. He kept his eyes on the mothership. Every empire has a weakness. Even the strongest armor can break if you hit the right place. Our job is to find that place and strike it. Another soldier, Anna, wiped dust from her face. Her uniform was torn, but her voice was steady. "You think the queen herself is that weakness, don't you?" Paul finally turned to face them. "Yes. Armies follow leaders. If we capture her, everything changes. Their control will break, and humanity will rise again." The group fell silent. The idea sounded impossible. How could a small team of humans capture the queen of an empire that had conquered hundreds of worlds? Yet Paul's words carried a strength that made them believe, even if fear lingered in their hearts. A sudden roar shook the ground. Alien ships passed overhead, firing beams of light into the ruins. The ground cracked, and dust filled the air. Paul signaled his team to move quickly into the underground tunnels that ran beneath the city. These tunnels, once part of the old subway, had become safe paths for resistance fighters. Inside, the sound of destruction was distant, like thunder in another land. As they walked, Paul explained the mission. "We have learned from captured transmissions that the Queen remains on her command ship most of the time. But tomorrow, she plans to oversee the attack on Central Base from a closer station. That is our chance. If we strike when she is near the battlefield, we can break into her ship." Mark's eyes widened. "You mean we're going into their command zone? That's suicide." Paul stopped and placed a hand on his shoulder. "It will only be suicide if we give up before trying. We are fighting not just for ourselves but for every child, every family, every voice that still hopes to live free. If the Queen falls, humanity will show the universe that we do not bow." The soldiers nodded. Fear was still there, but courage grew stronger. Hours passed as they prepared in silence. Weapons were checked, alien rifles recharged, and armor patched with metal plates. Each soldier carried both human tools and stolen alien devices. Humanity had learned to adapt quickly. Every piece of alien tech they captured was studied and reused against its creators. Paul believed that this cleverness was the true strength of his people. At dawn, the sky glowed with the fire of rising ships. Alien forces spread out to attack Central Base, the last stronghold of organized human defense. But while most eyes were fixed on that battle, Paul's team moved in the opposite direction. They traveled through broken streets, moving like shadows, until they reached the edge of the alien landing zone. There, silver towers rose from the ground, humming with strange power. Between them, armored guards marched in perfect order. The team hid behind rubble, waiting for the right moment. Anna whispered, "Commander, once we cross this line, there's no turning back." Paul's gaze was fixed on the horizon, where the Queen's escort ship was said to arrive. His heart was heavy with the weight of every life lost in the war, but his resolve did not waver. "We crossed that line the day they attacked our world," he said firmly. "Today, we strike back." Suddenly, the sound of engines filled the air. A massive silver vessel descended slowly, its surface glowing with blue light. Alien banners shone on its sides. Paul's breath steadied. He knew who was inside. The Queen had come to oversee the attack personally, as intelligence had predicted. The soldiers looked at one another, their faces pale but determined. Paul raised his hand and gave the order they had been waiting for. "Move out. This is the beginning." With silent steps, the team advanced into the shadows of the enemy's stronghold. Humanity's boldest gamble had begun. The air trembled as the alien escort ship touched down. Its surface gleamed like polished stone, and strange blue light ran across its sides like veins carrying fire. Human soldiers hiding in the rubble felt the ground shake under its weight. Inside that ship, protected by layers of guards and machines, was the Queen who commanded the destruction of Earth. Commander Paul crouched behind a broken wall, studying every detail. His team waited for his signal, their breaths shallow, their eyes locked on him. He could feel the tension in their silence, like a bowstring pulled tight. They all knew what was at stake. This mission was not only dangerous but nearly impossible. Yet Paul believed in their chance. Humanity had survived worse odds before. From the ship's ramp, alien warriors marched out in perfect formation. Their armor glowed faintly, shaped like flowing metal molded to their tall bodies. Each carried a weapon that could cut through stone. At the center of the formation, a larger figure appeared. She wore a long robe of living light, her crown sharp like crystal. Her eyes shone with golden fire. The Queen had arrived. For a moment, even the most battle-hardened soldiers of Paul's team felt small. Her presence was overwhelming, as if the air itself bowed to her. The aliens around her moved with discipline, forming a living shield. Anna whispered under her breath, "How do we fight something like that?" Paul's eyes never left the Queen. "We don't fight her here. We take her out of their circle. Wait for my mark." The team moved quietly through tunnels beneath the landing zone. They had studied the layout for weeks, using stolen maps and broken alien devices. Now their knowledge paid off. They surfaced closer to the Queen's path, hidden among twisted steel beams and fallen concrete. The Queen walked with grace, her voice rising in alien words that echoed across the zone. To her warriors, her words were commands. To humans, they sounded like music wrapped in thunder. She raised her hand, and her soldiers bowed their heads. She believed herself untouchable, a ruler above all. That arrogance was her weakness, and Paul meant to use it. The trap was simple but deadly. A hidden explosive, crafted from stolen alien fuel cells, waited near the path. It would not kill the Queen, for her shields were too strong, but it would scatter her guards and break their formation. That single moment of chaos was all Paul's team needed. Paul pressed the trigger. The earth shook as fire burst upward, throwing metal and dust into the air. Alien warriors stumbled, their glowing armor sparking under the blast. The Queen staggered back, her shield flickering like shattered glass. Smoke filled the field, and the sound of alarm spread through the alien ranks. "Now," Paul shouted, his voice sharp like steel. The team rushed forward. Mark fired an alien rifle, beams of blue light cutting down the first line of guards. Anna threw a shock grenade that exploded in a flash of white, sending others to the ground. Paul himself charged through the smoke, his blade cutting at weak points in alien armor. The battlefield became chaos, screams and sparks filling the air. Through the confusion, Paul's eyes found the queen. She stood tall, her shield cracked but not broken. She raised her hand, and energy burst out, throwing two soldiers into the rubble. Her power was terrifying, yet she was exposed. Paul pushed forward, cutting through the last of her guards. The queen raised her arm again, but before she could strike, Anna's second grenade exploded at her feet. The shock wave threw the queen to the ground. Her crown of crystal shattered, and her shield broke into sparks. For the first time since the invasion began, the queen was vulnerable. Paul moved quickly, pressing a restraint device onto her arms. It was built from alien tech, designed to hold even the strongest of her kind. The queen struggled, golden fire still glowing in her eyes, but the device locked her power away. The battlefield went silent for a breath. Human soldiers stood frozen, staring at the sight they thought impossible. The queen, the ruler of the invaders, lay bound at their commander's feet. Mark's voice trembled. We actually have her." But there was no time for celebration. Alien reinforcements were already rushing to the scene. Paul lifted the queen to her feet and pulled her close. "Move out," he ordered. "We have what we came for. Now we survive." The team retreated into the tunnels, carrying their prisoner. Explosions shook the ground as alien soldiers fired after them, but the tunnels twisted and turned, protecting the humans from direct fire. The queen struggled in Paul's grip, her voice hissing in anger, yet the restraints held firm. As they reached deeper into the tunnels, the sound of battle faded. Only the echo of footsteps and heavy breathing remained. The soldiers stopped to catch their breath. Dust hung in the air, and the dim light flickered from broken lamps. Paul lowered the queen onto a stone bench. She sat straight despite her restraints, her eyes glowing faintly. For the first time, the soldiers looked at her up close. Her skin was pale silver, her features sharp and regal. She seemed less like a monster and more like a living being, yet her aura carried pride and power. Anna stared at her. "This is the one who brought so much ruin to Earth. And now she sits here like a prisoner." The queen lifted her chin. Her voice was soft but commanding. "You think this changes anything, human? My armies will tear your world apart. Release me, and perhaps I will spare you." Paul stepped closer, his face hard as stone. "You will spare no one. You came to destroy us, and now you are our captive. The war changes today." For the first time, the queen's eyes flickered, not with rage but with something else. It was not fear, but recognition. She realized that the humans were not as weak as she had believed. They had captured her, the heart of the Empire's might. Mark leaned close to Paul and whispered, "What do we do now? We can't keep her here forever." Paul's answer was steady. "We take her to the base. The world must see this with their own eyes. Hope begins with proof, and nothing proves more than this." The team began moving again, guiding the queen deeper into the tunnels toward their hidden routes. The war above continued, but in that dark place, humanity had scored its first true victory. The queen, once untouchable, now walked as a prisoner among those she had tried to destroy. Paul looked at her one last time as they moved. "You thought Earth would fall easily. You were wrong. And this is only the beginning." The tunnels stretched on like veins beneath the ruined city. Dust fell from cracked ceilings as Commander Paul and his team carried their prisoner deeper underground. The alien queen moved with silent grace, her glowing eyes fixed on the humans around her. Though bound by alien restraints, she held herself like a ruler who had never known defeat. The soldiers marched with heavy breaths, their armor scratched and their bodies tired. Yet a strange fire burned in their hearts. For the first time since the invasion began, they had hope. They had captured the queen, the very symbol of the enemy's strength. At last, they reached a hidden chamber far below the ground. Old stone walls surrounded them, built long before the war. Electric lamps flickered weakly, casting shadows that danced on the walls. This place had once been a storage room for the subway system, but now it was a safe house for resistance fighters. The queen was placed in the center of the chamber. Her restraints glowed faintly, binding her arms and legs. She sat calmly, her golden eyes watching every movement of her captors. The silence in the room was heavy. None of the soldiers spoke, as if waiting for her to reveal her true power. Finally, she broke the silence. Her voice was smooth, like water flowing over stone. "Humans. You believe victory is yours because you have captured me. But you do not understand what you hold." Paul stood before her, his arms crossed. His face was stern, but his eyes were sharp with curiosity. "Then explain. You are the leader of the army that has destroyed our cities. Why should we not end you here and now?" The queen tilted her head slightly. Her golden gaze swept across the room, settling on each soldier. "If you end me, you may win a small victory. But my empire is vast. New leaders will rise, and your world will burn again. If you wish to survive, you must listen to me." Mark, standing close to Paul, tightened his grip on his rifle. "She lies. She is trying to scare us. We should finish her now." Anna shook her head. "Wait. Let her speak. We need to know why she came here in the first place." The queen leaned forward slightly, the glow in her eyes softening. "I did not come to destroy you for conquest alone. My empire is not as strong as it seems. Beyond this galaxy, there are threats greater than anything you have faced. My armies were sent here because your world is valuable. It has life, it has resources, and most of all, it has potential. We sought to control you before others arrived to consume you." Paul narrowed his eyes. "You expect us to believe that? You burned our cities, killed our people, and call it protection." The queen's voice grew lower, almost like a whisper. "I did what was necessary for survival. But now I am your prisoner, and survival is yours to claim. I offer you something greater than victory over me. I offer you my powers, the secrets of my kind. With them, humanity can rise beyond weakness. With them, you can not only defend your world but also stand as rulers among the stars." Her words hung in the air like a heavy fog. The soldiers exchanged uneasy glances. Mark spat on the ground. "Do not listen to her. She wants freedom. If we release her, she will destroy us." Anna frowned, her eyes locked on the queen. "But what if she speaks the truth? What if there are greater enemies? What if her powers could make us strong enough to survive?" Paul remained silent, his mind torn between doubt and possibility. He had seen what the queen could do on the battlefield. She commanded energy with her hands, shattered walls with a single gesture, and her presence alone made her warriors fearless. If that power could be shared with humans, it could change everything. The queen studied him closely, her voice now softer, almost pleading. "Commander Paul. You are a leader of your people. You know the truth. No matter how many battles you win, your weapons will not match ours. But I can give you what your kind lacks. Strength. Healing. Knowledge. I will share it freely, if you show mercy." Paul stepped closer, his shadow falling over her. "Why? Why would you give your enemies such a gift?" Her eyes shone brighter, but there was no anger in them. "Because I do not wish to end in chains. If I must live, I choose to live with purpose. And perhaps I was wrong about you. You fight with courage, with a fire I have never seen in other worlds. You are different. That is why I offer this. Help me, and I will help you. The room grew quiet. For the first time, the queen sounded less like a conqueror and more like a desperate soul seeking a way to survive. Mark shook his head firmly. She is playing with our minds. We should not fall for this. Anna looked at Paul. But what if she is not lying? This could be the only chance humanity has to stand equal to the stars. Paul's jaw tightened. He could feel the weight of every life resting on his decision. The Queen's words were dangerous, but they carried truth. Humanity could not keep fighting forever with broken weapons and stolen tools. They needed something greater. Yet, he could not forget the pain she had caused. Paul finally spoke, his voice steady. You claim you will share your powers with us. Prove it. Show me that your offer is real. The Queen's lips curved into a faint smile. Release my hand, only for a moment, and I will show you. The soldiers immediately raised their rifles, shouting protests. Mark nearly stepped forward in anger. Are you insane, Commander? She will kill us the moment she is free. Paul raised his hand to silence them. I said prove it, not escape. He looked into the Queen's eyes, unflinching. If you can demonstrate your power while bound, then maybe your words will mean something. But know this. If you try to harm anyone here, I will end you myself. The Queen lowered her head slightly, as though acknowledging his courage. Then she closed her eyes. A soft glow spread from her chest, flowing into the restraints around her. The metal glowed red, but instead of breaking, it remained firm. Slowly, the glow spread outward, filling the room with warm light. Anna gasped softly. What is this? The Queen's voice echoed softly as she spoke. A fragment of my gift. Healing light. Look to your wounds. The soldiers looked down in surprise. Cuts and bruises from the battle began to fade. Pain in their muscles eased, and the weight in their chests lifted. Even Mark, who had been bleeding from a cut on his arm, saw it close before his eyes. The room fell into stunned silence. For the first time, the soldiers saw her not only as an enemy but as a being who carried powers beyond imagination. The Queen opened her eyes again, the glow fading. This is but a taste of what I can share. Decide, Commander. Will you keep me as a prisoner until your people fall, or will you accept my gift and rise? Paul stood still, his mind torn. The Queen had proven her words were not empty. Now he had to decide whether to believe in her promise or to treat it as a trap. The chamber was filled with silence after the Queen's display of power. The faint glow from the lamps reflected off the stone walls, and the soldiers stood frozen, still staring at the wounds that had just healed before their eyes. None of them could fully believe what they had witnessed. For months they had bled, fought, and buried their comrades, and now with a mere flicker of her energy, the Queen had undone pain that medicine could not. Commander Paul's face remained calm, but his heart was heavy with conflict. He had wanted proof, and she had given it. Now he was faced with a choice far more dangerous than the battle they had just fought. The Queen lifted her head and looked directly at him. Her golden eyes glimmered, no longer sharp with arrogance but softened with patience. You see now, Commander. My words are not empty. I hold the power to change your kind. If you accept me, humanity will rise beyond weakness. If you refuse, you will fight alone until your strength is gone. Mark shook his head in fury. He pointed his rifle at her chest. Do not listen, Paul. She is twisting the truth. She wants freedom. The moment we let our guard down, she will strike us again. Anna stood nearby, her gaze fixed on the Queen. Her voice was calmer but filled with unease. She showed us something real, Mark. That was not a trick. My wounds were gone. Yours too. If she can do this, imagine what more she can give. What if she truly means what she says? Mark snapped back at her. And what if she does not? What if she waits for us to trust her, then calls her army to wipe us out? Their voices echoed in the chamber, filling the air with tension. Paul raised his hand, and silence returned. His eyes remained fixed on the queen. If what you say is true, then tell me the whole truth. Why Earth? Why my people? Why bring your war here? The queen leaned back slightly against the stone bench, her face unreadable for a moment. Then she spoke, her tone steady. My empire is ancient. For centuries, we expanded across the stars, conquering worlds and bending species to our will. But in that growth, we made enemies. Powerful ones. Beyond your galaxy lies a race that devours entire civilizations. They are not like me. They do not conquer for survival or order. They destroy until nothing remains. My empire has held them back, but we grow weaker each century. That is why I turn to your world. Earth holds life unlike any other, a spark I have never seen before. If nurtured, it could resist the darkness to come. Her words carried weight, though Mark scoffed loudly. Convenient story. You destroy us, then claim it was to save us. But Paul was not so quick to dismiss it. He had seen too many signs during the war. Alien fleets stretched thin, soldiers who fought fiercely but with desperation, technology that seemed advanced but old, as if patched together from older battles. Her empire was strong, but perhaps it was not as endless as it appeared. Paul asked again, his tone sharp. And your powers? Why offer them to us? If they are so great, why not keep them for your people? The queen lowered her gaze, and for the first time, her voice carried a note of sorrow. Because my people are fading. Each gift we pass weakens us, but your kind is different. You adapt. You fight with a spirit that cannot be taught. That is why I came. At first, I sought to rule you, to shape your fire under my hand. But now, bound in your chains, I see another path. If I give you my gifts freely, perhaps you can rise and face what is to come. Anna's eyes widened slightly. She is, admitting weakness. Mark growled under his breath. Or pretending to. Do not forget what she has done. Paul stepped closer, standing tall over the queen. His voice was firm. If I accept your bargain, what do you ask in return? The queen raised her head again, her eyes burning like the sun. Mercy. Do not end me. Keep me as your ally, not your prisoner. Allow me to guide your kind with the knowledge of the stars. Together, we will build strength that no empire can break. Paul studied her in silence. The soldiers around him watched closely, waiting for his answer. He thought of the ruined cities above, the cries of children who had lost everything, the graves of soldiers who had given their lives. The idea of showing mercy to the one who had caused so much pain felt like betrayal. And yet, he also thought of the healed wounds, the proof that her powers were real. He thought of the greater threats she spoke of, enemies far beyond Earth. If even a part of her story was true, then humanity was walking blind into a storm. Mark could no longer hold his anger. He stepped forward, his voice shaking with rage. Commander, I will not follow this path. If you listen to her, you betray every soldier who died fighting her armies. Anna placed a hand on Mark's shoulder, stopping him. No, Mark. If we refuse, we may lose everything anyway. You saw what she did. Maybe this is the only way we survive. We must think of the future, not just the past. Paul raised his voice, strong and commanding. Enough. The echo silenced them both. He turned back to the queen. If you wish for mercy, you will earn it. Words are not enough. You will help us fight your own armies. You will show us the truth about these greater threats. and if you betray us, you will not live to see another day. The queen's lips curved into a faint smile. A bargain then. Mercy for power. Trust for survival. I accept your terms, Commander. Paul did not smile. He only nodded. This is not trust. Not yet. You will remain bound until you prove yourself. But if what you offer is real, then perhaps there will be a place for you among us. The soldiers exchanged glances, their hearts torn between doubt and hope. The queen, once their greatest enemy, had become their greatest gamble. As the chamber grew quiet once more, Paul looked at his team. This changes everything. We are not just fighting for survival anymore. We are standing at the edge of something greater. But know this: our path will not be easy. Whether she is our savior or our doom depends on the choices we make now. The queen lowered her head slightly, as though in respect. For the first time, she spoke not as a ruler commanding her army, but as one who sought alliance. Then let us begin. The chamber beneath the ruined city grew restless after the bargain was made. Paul had not freed the queen, yet he had chosen to listen to her. His decision placed a heavy weight on every soldier's heart. Some saw it as betrayal, while others saw a spark of hope. The queen sat calmly, bound by glowing restraints. Though she remained a prisoner, her presence filled the room like a flame that refused to fade. Her golden eyes followed every movement of the humans, but she no longer looked at them with scorn. There was something new in her gaze, a strange mix of respect and curiosity. Paul stood with his arms crossed. His voice was low but firm. You offered us your power. Now you will show us how it works. If you want mercy, prove yourself useful. The queen nodded slowly. Very well. But understand this. My gift is not a weapon you can hold. It is a force that changes the body and the mind. Once given, it cannot be undone. The one who accepts it must be strong, or it will consume them. Mark muttered angrily from the side. A trick. She wants to break us from within. Anna shook her head. Maybe. But maybe she is telling the truth. Someone has to test it. The queen's voice softened. One among you must step forward. But choose carefully. This power is not meant for the weak. Paul felt the eyes of his team turn toward him. His jaw tightened. He knew the risk, but he also knew what leadership required. He could not ask his people to walk into danger if he was unwilling to do the same. I will take it, Paul said firmly. The soldiers reacted instantly. Anna's eyes widened. Commander, no. If something happens to you, we will lose more than a leader. We will lose our hope. Mark shook his head in disbelief. This is madness. We do not even know if she speaks the truth. What if she kills you where you stand? Paul's gaze did not waver. If I fall, you will continue. But if I succeed, then humanity will have something greater than hope. It will have strength. The queen studied him closely, her lips curving into a faint smile. You are brave. Perhaps too brave. Very well, Commander. Come closer. The soldiers tightened their grips on their weapons as Paul stepped toward her. The queen raised her bound hands, the restraints glowing brighter as they resisted her movement. Still, she managed to lift her palms toward him. Place your hand over mine, she said gently. And do not resist what you feel. If you fight it, it will break you. Paul hesitated for only a breath before pressing his hand against hers. The moment their skin touched, a wave of energy surged through him. His body stiffened, his breath caught in his throat, and his vision blurred. Golden light spread from her palm into his arm, racing through his veins like fire and lightning combined. The soldiers shouted in alarm. Mark raised his rifle, but Anna stopped him. Wait. Look at him. Paul's eyes glowed faintly as the power poured into him. His body trembled, but he did not pull away. Memories not his own flashed through his mind, images of alien worlds, battles across the stars, rivers of energy flowing like living storms. His muscles burned, his bones ached, yet a strange strength filled him, pushing away the pain. Finally, the light faded, and Paul fell to his knees, gasping for breath. Sweat ran down his face, but his eyes shone with a new light, faint and golden. Anna rushed to his side. "Commander, are you all right?" Paul took a deep breath and stood slowly. His movements felt different, sharper, stronger. He clenched his fists, and he felt the air around them ripple faintly, as if responding to his will. I feel alive. Stronger than I have ever been." The Queen's voice was calm. "You carry a fragment of my gift now. Your body will heal faster, your senses will sharpen, and your strength will grow. But remember, this is only the beginning. If you wish for more, you must learn to control it. Power without control will destroy you." Mark stared in disbelief. This cannot be real." Paul turned to face him. "It is real. I can feel it. She has given me something no human has ever had." The soldiers exchanged uneasy glances. For the first time, they saw their commander not just as a man but as something more. Anna whispered softly, "If others receive this gift too, we could fight back against the aliens with their own power." The Queen nodded. "Yes. But not all will survive the transformation. Only those with strong will can carry it. Choose your warriors wisely." Paul looked at his team. He could feel the weight of the decision pressing against him. He could not risk the lives of his soldiers lightly, yet he also knew that if humanity was to rise, they needed more than weapons. They needed power. That night, the chamber remained restless. Some soldiers whispered in awe about what they had witnessed, while others whispered in fear. Was their commander still human, or had he become something else entirely? Paul sat apart from them, his thoughts heavy. He could feel the Queen's energy still moving through him, burning yet guiding, like a fire waiting to be shaped. His senses were sharper than before. He could hear faint footsteps, see details in the dark, and feel the rhythm of his own heartbeat like a drum of war. The Queen watched him silently, her golden eyes unreadable. At last, she spoke. "You have taken the first step. But your people will fear what they do not understand. Even now, some among you wonder if you remain the man they once followed." Paul met her gaze. "And what do you think?" A faint smile touched her lips. "I think you are dangerous. To me, to my empire, and perhaps even to yourself. But that danger may be the key to saving this world." Paul did not answer. He knew her words carried truth. He was changing, and change always brought fear. As dawn approached above the ruined city, Paul gathered his team. His voice was steady, stronger than before. "We cannot stay here. The aliens will search for their queen. We must move her to the base. There, the world will see what we have done. And there, we will decide who among us is ready to accept this gift." Mark still looked uneasy, but he followed. Anna gave a nod of trust. The Queen rose to her feet, her restraints glowing, and walked silently among them. The humans had captured their enemy. Now they carried not only a prisoner but also a power that could change the course of the war. The hidden base lay deep in the mountains, far from the ruins of the city. Human engineers and soldiers had worked tirelessly to create a place where the last hope of Earth could survive. Walls of reinforced steel and shields powered by human and alien technology guarded the entrance. Inside, the air was warm, dry, and free of smoke, a stark contrast to the chaos above. Commander Paul led his team through the corridors, the Queen walking silently beside them. Her restraints glowed faintly, a reminder that she was still their prisoner. Soldiers whispered in quiet voices, glancing at her with fear, awe, or suspicion. Paul knew that opinions in his ranks were divided. Some saw the Queen as a potential savior, while others saw her as a dangerous threat waiting for the right moment to strike. Anna walked close to Paul. "Commander, do you really trust her?" "Even a little," she asked softly. Paul did not answer immediately. He watched the queen as she moved through the hall. "Trust is not given lightly, Anna. It is earned. So far, she has shown her power and kept her word. But one wrong step, and trust will end." Mark, still tense, whispered from the side. "She is lying. You will see. The moment we relax, she will call her army down on us. You cannot control her." Paul's jaw tightened, but he remained silent. He had learned that arguments here would not change minds. Soldiers must see results themselves. At the command center, the queen was placed in a secure room. Guards stood at every entrance, and surveillance monitors tracked every movement. Yet the queen remained calm. She did not struggle, and she spoke with a soft voice that carried a strange authority. "You are cautious, as you should be," she said. "But know this. Time is precious. The enemy grows stronger. Each moment you hesitate, you lose advantage. My powers can help you, but only if you accept them and act." Paul approached her again. "We will act. But first, you must show that your power can be trusted beyond healing. We must test it in controlled ways before we use it against our enemies." The queen inclined her head. "Very well. I will demonstrate. But you must understand, some among your people may not survive the process. Power is dangerous to the unready." Paul nodded. "We will choose carefully." The first demonstration began with a small group of soldiers. Selected volunteers had minor injuries from recent battles. The queen touched their wounds lightly, and golden energy flowed from her hands. Cuts closed, bruises faded, and pain disappeared. The soldiers staggered slightly but soon stood tall, astonished at the change. Mark looked away, still unconvinced. "This is trickery. You cannot give us strength without a cost." Anna placed a hand on his arm. "Look at them. The wounds are gone. She is real." The queen's voice rose gently. "Strength is not only physical. I can enhance senses, speed, and endurance. But those who are weak in mind or spirit cannot handle it. The gift tests courage, control, and discipline." Paul called forward a few of his strongest soldiers, men and women who had survived countless battles. Each stepped forward hesitantly, but one by one, the queen placed her hands on them. Golden light flowed into their bodies, and each experienced a moment of struggle, like fire moving through their veins. Some stumbled, overwhelmed by the energy, but with Paul's guidance, they regained balance. They emerged stronger, faster, and sharper than before. Paul observed closely, noting their responses. This was the first sign that humanity could adapt to powers beyond their understanding. As the testing continued, whispers began among the soldiers. Could they really trust the queen? Some believed that her power might change them forever, turning humans into something new, something unpredictable. Others argued that this was the only way to survive against the alien empire. One officer approached Paul quietly. "Commander, there are murmurs of rebellion. Some believe we should kill the queen while she is bound. They think it is the only safe option." Paul frowned. "Killing her now would end any hope of the powers we need. It would be a short-term solution with long-term consequences. We cannot afford that." The officer hesitated. "But what if she deceives us? What if she waits for the right moment?" Paul's eyes narrowed. "Then we must remain vigilant. Trust is earned, not given. That is the balance we must maintain." Meanwhile, the queen observed everything with careful eyes. She spoke to the soldiers, guiding them in understanding how the new powers worked. Control is everything. Power without discipline is destruction. You will not survive if you do not respect it. Mark finally spoke, his voice quieter than before. Even if she is real, she is dangerous. I will not forget what she did to our world. Paul placed a firm hand on his shoulder. Neither will I, Mark. But we must look forward, not only back. If we survive the coming battles, we will have a future. And that future depends on using every advantage we can gain. Days passed as the soldiers trained under the Queen's guidance. Humans learned to channel fragments of her power, enhanced speed, agility, and strength. Some could heal faster, others could sense danger before it happened. The base became a laboratory, a training ground, and a fortress all at once. Trust remained fragile. Every new demonstration of power brought awe and fear in equal measure. Some soldiers whispered that the Queen might turn against them at any moment. Others praised her guidance, saying that without her, humanity would not survive the next attack. Paul spent long hours with the Queen, learning to understand her motives. She did not reveal all of her knowledge at once, but each lesson brought insight into alien technology, tactics, and strategy. For the first time, humans began to feel that they could fight the Empire on equal ground. One evening, as the soldiers rested, Paul spoke to the Queen privately. Why help us? Why not just return to your empire and rebuild your armies? Her golden eyes met his. Because I have seen courage I have never known. Your people do not bend, even under impossible odds. That spirit is rare, and it has value. I offer my guidance because I see potential in you that my empire no longer has. But remember, power comes with responsibility. One misstep and it will destroy more than it creates. Paul nodded slowly. He felt the weight of every life resting on his choices. The Queen was dangerous, yes, but she had become a tool, and perhaps the only tool that could turn the tide of war. Outside the base, the alien empire continued its campaign. But within the walls, humanity was changing. Soldiers trained, powers were honed, and leadership learned that trust could be built even with the most unlikely allies. The question remained: would the Queen remain loyal, or would betrayal come when they least expected it? Paul knew the answer was uncertain. But he also knew that in a war for survival, uncertainty was a risk they had to take. And as the Queen guided them, humanity's strength grew in ways they had never imagined. The battle for trust had begun, and in that battle, the fate of Earth hung in balance. The sun rose above the mountains, casting pale light over the hidden base. Outside, the alien empire's fleets were already advancing, dark shapes moving through the sky with precision and power. Earth's defenders had no illusions they were facing an enemy far larger and stronger than any single human could withstand. Yet inside the base, a different kind of war was being fought, a war of trust, courage, and choice. Commander Paul stood at the observation deck, watching the approaching ships. His golden eyes, still touched by the Queen's power, scanned the horizon. Beside him, Anna and Mark prepared the soldiers for the incoming attack. The Queen, once a prisoner and now their reluctant ally, watched quietly, her restraints glowing faintly. "Commander," Anna said softly, "they are closer than expected. Do you think we are ready?" Paul shook his head, his expression serious but calm. "We are never truly ready. But we have something they do not expect: unity and power they have underestimated. And we have her." The Queen's voice broke the silence, soft yet commanding. "You speak of unity, yet trust is fragile here. Your soldiers still doubt me, still wonder if I will betray them. That doubt is dangerous in the coming battle." Mark's voice was sharp. "And what if you do? You may have given us power, but one slip, one command, and you could destroy everything." The Queen inclined her head. "I know your doubts. But I have chosen to stay. I have seen courage in your people, the fire that even my armies cannot extinguish. If I betray you, it will not be from weakness. It will be because your choice is wrong." Paul stepped forward. "Then we make it right. We fight together, and we trust, but we watch closely. Each of us has a choice: accept this power or fight with what we already have. The choice belongs to everyone. Inside the base, soldiers lined the walls, waiting for the command. Some were enhanced by fragments of the Queen's gift, their senses sharper, their strength increased. Others relied on courage, training, and the weapons humanity had built. The combination of raw human skill and alien power created a tense, fragile balance. The alarm sounded. Alien ships were descending rapidly, beams of energy cutting through the sky. The base's shields flared as they absorbed the first wave of attacks. Explosions rocked the mountains, sending debris tumbling, yet the humans stood firm. Paul moved among the soldiers, encouraging them, checking their formations, and ensuring that each one understood the role they had chosen. "Remember," he said, "trust your training, trust each other, and trust your choices. This is your battle. Make it count." The Queen lifted her head. "Commander, allow me to lead those who accept my power. Together, we can strike the enemy in ways they will not expect." Paul nodded. "Do it. But remember, every action must protect our people. We are allies, not masters and servants." The Queen stepped forward, her hands glowing with golden light. Soldiers who had accepted her gift felt a warmth rise in their bodies, a wave of energy that made them faster, stronger, and more aware. Paul watched as they formed a separate unit, their movements synchronized, precise, almost like a single organism guided by her presence. Mark, though still wary, stood with his team, using traditional weapons, relying on skill and courage rather than alien power. Anna stayed close to Paul, ready to assist, guide, and protect the enhanced soldiers if needed. The battle began in earnest. Alien ships struck the mountains with beams of energy, tearing through rock and shield alike. The enhanced soldiers moved like lightning, intercepting attackers, disabling engines, and saving those caught in the blasts. The humans without the gift fought fiercely, their bravery and ingenuity allowing them to exploit openings in the alien formations. Paul moved through the battlefield, his senses heightened, his body responding instantly to danger. He felt the energy of the Queen guiding him, not controlling him. Together, they became a force that the invaders had not anticipated. Amid the chaos, the Queen directed her enhanced soldiers. "Focus on the winged ships. Protect the base's shields. Move as one. Do not hesitate." Her commands were not orders, but guidance. And the humans followed, their trust in her growing with each successful maneuver. Yet fear remained. Every soldier knew that a single mistake could lead to annihilation. Some whispered that the Queen might change her mind, that she might betray them in a moment of weakness. But Paul's calm presence, combined with her power, created a balance of hope and caution that drove them forward. Hours passed. The alien fleet, confident in its superiority, began to falter. Their ships were slower, their attacks less coordinated. The humans, using a combination of enhanced abilities and tactical skill, created traps, ambushes, and counterattacks that shredded the enemy's advance. At one critical moment, an enormous alien vessel broke through the shields, heading directly for the base. Paul, sensing its movement before it was visible, called for a coordinated strike. Enhanced soldiers intercepted it, disabling engines and shields from the outside while human soldiers targeted weak points inside. The ship was destroyed, falling in flames toward the mountainside, and for a moment, silence fell over the battlefield. The Queen's eyes softened. "You see? Together, we can do what was impossible alone." Paul looked at her, his expression firm but grateful. "This victory is ours, but it is not hers alone. It is ours because we chose to trust, to act, and to fight together." Mark, still cautious, approached him. "I cannot say I trust her fully, but I see the results. We survived because of what she offered. Perhaps trust was the only choice we had." Anna nodded. "And the power is not just hers. We learned from it. We adapted. That is humanity's strength. As the alien fleet retreated into the sky, broken and defeated, the humans cheered. They had survived, and they had done so through courage, unity, and the careful guidance of the one who had once been their greatest enemy. The queen remained bound, but her posture was no longer that of a prisoner. She had become an ally, a teacher, and a force that could guide humanity toward a future beyond fear. Paul addressed his soldiers. Today, we faced impossible odds. Today, we chose to fight, to trust, and to rise. The choice was ours, and we made it. Humanity has survived, not because of weapons alone, but because we chose hope, unity, and courage. The Queen spoke last, her voice carrying across the base. Remember this lesson. Power alone is not enough. Trust, discipline, and courage define whether that power creates or destroys. You have chosen wisely, Commander Paul, and humanity's spark will burn brighter because of it. As night fell over the mountains, the base stood quiet but alive with energy. Soldiers rested, trained, and healed. The Queen, once a symbol of fear, sat among them, restrained yet accepted. And Commander Paul looked out over the horizon, knowing that the choice they had made, the choice to trust, to fight together, and to embrace new power had secured not just survival, but the beginning of a future where humanity could rise among the stars. The war was far from over, but for the first time in many months, humans felt hope. They had faced their enemy, captured the Queen, harnessed incredible power, and learned the value of trust. Humanity had made its choice.